Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Dieppe, host of Shoot to Earn. Today we get to hang out with Juma Bannister of Relate Studios in Trinidad and Tobago.
Hey,
Uh, Juma, it's great to have you on the show.
thanks for having me, Aaron.
Juma is a wedding and portrait photographer, and for those of you who don't know where Trinidad and Tobago is, it's actually an island. It's the southernmost island in the Caribbean off the coast of Venezuela. And we got into contact a few years back when I actually photographed a wedding in Trinidad. I was actually in Tobago. And I think Juma reached out to me on my blog, and then we've kind of just kept in touch over the years, right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
So this is super exciting to have you on the show, get your perspective on the business of photography coming from the Caribbean. Um, yeah, he's photographed weddings all over the Caribbean and even various locations in the U.S. As well as Africa. So there's so much I want to talk to you about today, Juma. But before we get into the questions and everything, why don't you just give our audience a little background, how you got started in the business?
Thanks, Aaron. Well, I first started off when I was working, doing my regular day job as a web designer, and I kind of took up photography as a hobby, like lots of people do.
Hmm.
And then I think my boss was kind of instrumental in encouraging me to continue to pursue it, and he realized that I was good at it, and he even at that time he even allowed me to some time off to go to the US to shoot one wedding at that time, and I think it just snowballed from there. It was like one thing after the next, and eventually I knew I had to kind of go on my own and do it full time, and they were fully behind me and they encouraged me to do it, and I took the step, and here I am today. I'm totally in it many years now, and it's good.
Very cool. So let me ask you then, how did you book your first wedding?
Oh, you know that whole story of my friend has a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the first wedding I did. That was in February of 2006. One of my good friends, his son was getting married, and he knew I had a camera, like lots of people do. And I realized that's a common story. And he
Uh-huh.
was like, "Well, you have a camera. I have a wedding son getting married. Could you shoot this wedding for me?" Now, I had done some little stuff before, but I had never ever done a wedding before. Um, and so what I did is that I went and I did tons of research, and I spoke to some of the guys who I knew had done weddings before, and some of the guys who were like in it for many years, even retired guys.
Hmm.
I got all the advice I needed to get, and then I shot the wedding, and he offered to pay me for it, and I said no. I said no. I really didn't feel I should have, and that's how I got started with the whole thing.
Cool. And so you just got referrals from that wedding, I'm assuming?
Yeah, well, what I did is I used my talent to my advantage. I was building websites anyway, and I just decided, well, I have photographs to share. What's the best way to share them?
Yeah.
And I built a website. And I think when I built the website, that's when things started to change. So
Mm.
I built the website, put it out there. All my friends got on, and I think at that time Facebook was becoming kind of popular. And all my friends got on, and they were like, this is amazing work. We didn't know you could do this. And I think word of mouth kind of gave me a boost at that time, and the website actually worked. And I was working in Flash at that time, and I did these two Flash websites, and people were pretty amazed by it. And after that happened, it just kind of got people began calling and emailing, and things went on from there. So I think the website is what actually gave me the kind of jump inside of that whole thing.
Okay. And you say Facebook was kind of taking off at the time too. So was that a big part of it too?
Yeah, Facebook was something I was doing. I mean, I wasn't into it too strongly. As a matter of fact, I remember kind of not wanting to be on Facebook. And some people, everybody has that moment on
Right.
Facebook. You know. And what I did though is that I got one of those blogspot blogs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I worked that worked really well as well. And I kind of looked around and see what people were doing. I mean, I looked around and see what was the thing that people were doing to get their business going, and I kind of followed some patterns, and I did my own thing, and it worked. It worked. The blog and the website, word of mouth, and it worked. It really did work for me. So that's
Cool.
the plan.
And so are you completely self-taught then?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I did have a little bit of training in school with photography, but I was with process cameras.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
actually trained in print, like
Okay.
process print, online, no, press printing type of thing.
Okay.
One of those big presses that you see, like Heidelberg presses and process inks and stuff like that. And what the process used to be like is they used to have film in one room and the camera operating in the other room.
Ah, okay.
So expose the film and then walk all the way around through a dark hallway, take the film out, you develop it by hand and stuff. And I did all those things, but it really didn't have a direct bearing on what I'm doing now. But what it did is that it gave me some really fundamental things that I continue to work with. So I really wasn't trained formally.
Hmm.
Most of my stuff and development was practice and research and practice.
So where did you do your research?
I did my research mostly online. I mean, online was the most part. I spoke to some other photographers who were here,
Okay.
but I soon realized that what I wanted to do, that most people here were not doing it, so they really couldn't advise me properly about it. And I decided I would kind of stick to people who were online and kind of had the sense of what I wanted to get done, and it worked. I think interacting with people really opened many doors in terms of the sight of what photography could be and wedding photography, and also in terms of the feeling that you belong to a community of people who are doing something good. Yeah.
Nice. And so you say that the people in Trinidad at the time weren't doing what you wanted to get done.
Yeah.
What did you want to get done
Well,
that was different?
at the time, wedding photography here was kind of like it was like a standard thing. You do portraits,
Okay.
or, you stand in a line type of thing. And there were a few guys who were doing stuff here, a couple guys, and they were like way ahead of the pack. They were like on the cutting edge, and they probably had connections too that allowed them to do that.
Got it.
And but the vast majority of the wedding photographers here at the time, that was back in 2005,
Hmm.
we're not really doing things like off-camera lighting in weddings and stuff like photojournalistic stuff and documentary type stuff.
Hmm.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to actually get into the kind of photojournalistic type of documentary type, get every detail of everything happening type of photography. And when I went to some of the guys, they would be like, "Well, this is how you pose a family.
Yeah.
This is how you pose a bride and groom. You put the bouquet on the train." Uh, and I mean, I was just like, "No, I don't want to do that. I want to get that emotion. I want to get that,
Cool.
kind of dramatic lighting in the portraits and stuff like that." And that's what I went for.
And so now would you say you are like ahead of the game in Trinidad?
Yeah, I would say I'm on the cutting edge. I think that there are a few people now. There are much more people who are kind of doing the thing that I'm doing or we are doing together. I would rather put it.
Hmm.
But definitely on the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, we are on the cutting edge, and we plan to stay there.
Yeah.
We plan to stay there, and it's been a good development thing from that kind of point back in 2005 to now.
So when you were, first getting your start and you were looking for sources of, inspiration or resources for education, like where did you go? Like who inspired you online? And do you have examples?
Yeah, and of course I can call names. I think I did a lot of research, a lot of searching around for just like wedding photography, and somewhere somehow I discovered wedding photojournalism, and I discovered the Wedding Photojournalists Association, the WPJA.
Hmm.
And I think one of my goals back in the day was just to get in, just to be a part of that whole thing, because I felt that that was the strongest example of what I wanted to become at the time.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. I actually worked specifically to get in. And I think I may have applied once and I didn't get in, and then the second time was like a big deal and I got in, and then after that it was like the floodgates opened. It was like I could see everything I wanted to. I could find the people. Some of the guys on there were some of the best in the world.
Hmm.
I could actually talk to them directly, send them emails, be their friend on Facebook, and they would answer questions that I may have had. And I think the people really gave me access to things that allowed me to grow. So I did my research inside of that, and since then I found other resources around. people's websites are always good to look at. Even here locally, there are really good photographers that we look at, and we kind of take inspiration from that. And of course, there's a non-wedding photography set, the portrait photographers, commercial photographers, who kind of give you a kind of different perspective on what wedding photography could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that really kind of set me up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's why I hope to have a lot of different types of photographers on the show too, to give, because we can all learn from each other, even if we're in different fields.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially regarding the business of photography. But so let's talk about where you've worked. So I mean, obviously you do a lot of weddings in Trinidad.
Yeah.
Do you get a good amount of weddings or couples that are coming from other places to Trinidad?
Yeah, we do have a lot of couples that come from other places to Trinidad. We've had couples from Europe, from Germany, from Sweden, from lots of different places. I mean, we have second generation Filipinos, Russians.
That's great.
Lots of different people. So we've eventually kind of developed a term for different ethnicities getting married. We call it swirl.
Yeah.
Which is like anybody of any different races getting married.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of that. We do tons of those types of weddings.
That's cool.
And it's something that you kind of see in the Caribbean a lot, where people run away to get married type of thing, and they bring their family,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of enjoy the Caribbean, I think.
Well, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common vacation spot, so it's also a common wedding spot.
Yeah. People enjoy it here in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's like a thing that we look forward to, seeing new people here.
Well, and I have to say the food there is incredible.
And you know.
I would know. I would know. I've been there a few times, and the food is just, it's really, really good.
I am Juma, and I endorse that's hence.
No, it's so good. Curry, all kinds of good stuff.
Crab,
Yeah, curry, crab, and dumplings, right? And then the bacon shark, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's all good stuff.
You know it.
Oh gosh, mouth watering. I'll have to come back just for the food.
I encourage you to do that.
I'd love to come out for your workshop coming up, but
that'd be great. Unfortunately, I know your situation.
yeah, so I won't be able to make it, unfortunately. But that's a great segue. Let's talk about that. So you're having this awesome workshop.
Yeah. The workshop is like our first workshop that we've been having at this level. I mean, we've done training before with basic photography. That's like for young people and for people who just want to learn about the camera. And that's like basic stuff, like how to use the camera, what is a aperture, things like that. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, people who just kind of now getting into the wedding photography business. And it's designed for those people, and it's actually specifically tailored to show them our kind of brand of photography, which is called relationship photography, which basically talks about
I'm sorry, hang on one second. It's kind of breaking up, and I really want to make sure that our viewers don't miss this part. Let's wait a second.
Should we kind of restart?
Maybe we can restart. Hang on a sec. Okay, we're back. So where were we? Let's talk about your workshop.
Yeah, the workshop. So Elevate Workshops. This is like our first kind of high-level training workshop for professional photographers. We've done like basic stuff before for young people and for people who just want to learn about the camera, like what is a camera, what is light, different things like that.
Got it.
But this is the first time we're actually doing really formal high-level training for wedding photographers and semi-professionals, because there are tons of semi-professionals here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we thought it would be good to do that. And the training is really in our specific brand of photography, which is relationship photography.
Okay.
It's a kind of term we coined to talk about the emphasis on the intangible things of photography, like interacting with people and how the how you treat people, things like that. That as opposed to just the technical parts of it, this is how you light it, this is how you pose it, stuff like that. And I think it'll be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to it. I think Ayinde and I we're pretty excited about it, and we're hoping to have as much people turn up. Or we only have 16 people in the class, but we're hoping to have as much people turn up as possible. Have a maxed out class.
And so this is like one of the first, if not the first, workshops of its kind in Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I haven't seen anything before, and at this level, I haven't seen anything like this. I mean, we have a beautiful location in Tobago, our Ohana Villa, which is like one of the best villas in in Trinidad and Tobago, if not in the Caribbean. Thanks to Aries for letting us use the place. And we've done tons of weddings there too, so it's like a familiar place that we can go and shoot and kind of talk to people. Really just have a good time as photographers, as well as learn some key things about developing your photography. So it's like the first one of its kind in Trinidad and Tobago, and I would say probably in the Caribbean. I haven't seen anything like this before, and we're really happy to be kind of pioneers in that space, and we're looking forward to it, definitely.
Awesome. That sounds exciting. Did you ever get a chance to, or an opportunity to take workshops when you were first starting?
Well, not really, because we all the workshops that we wanted to go to were not here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were kind of in the US, we really wanted to go to a few, and they were always kind of out of our reach at the times that we wanted to do it. And but I believe in training. I believe in people learning from people. Because even though we didn't do any workshops in wedding photography, we've done other stuff with training, with development, stuff like that. And it's something I really believe in, especially when it comes to something like wedding photography, that is really just as important for you to have the intangibles as it is for you to have the tangibles. You don't want to be a really good photographer with a bad attitude. So, that's for us is very important.
So by intangibles, you mean the attitude that you have and the relationship you have with your clients?
Yeah, the whole approach to it, how you treat people, your approach to the whole interacting with them, developing relationship, keeping in contact afterwards, caring about not just only the wedding, but about the marriage that's going to happen. And having a real clear perspective on that this is not just about shooting a wedding, is really something important for the person there, and you really have to treat it with respect and with honor. And really approaching it that way, as opposed to just saying like, I'm going to shoot this wedding, I'm going to get amazing images, and I'm going to get paid. It moves way beyond that, especially with weddings, and we think that's important for people to know.
And that's how you came up with the name of your company, Relate Studios?
Yeah, that was kind of like, that was something that was on my mind and kind of in my heart for a long time. And the company's old name was Flow Photo Photography.
Okay.
And I kind of inherited that name from a good friend of mine who we started a business. Well, he started a business, and we had worked together before. And I kind of inherited that name. And there came a point when I was like, this name doesn't work anymore for what we want to do. And then we were thinking about what we could name the company, and we went along for a while. And then what happened was, there are a few things that happened, but one of the key things that happened is that a bride of ours in 2009, she came from London to get married in Tobago, and we FedExed the images to her, and everything was fine. We did the DVD, FedExed it to her, and I was out in Massachusetts at that time with my wife. We were kind of on vacation. And we got a really frantic email saying that she's having this kind of like a post-wedding get-together with her family, and FedEx lost the images. They lost it. And she was like in a real panic because it was going to happen in a few days, and she was emailing me to say, well, please could you send it back? And what I had to do is, like, luckily I had the images on my laptop with me, and I was able to kind of load up my flash drive, and I went down to FedEx and I FedExed it again. And she actually got it on time, and she was able to use it. So I was really happy about that. But then she wrote us an email, a really nice email, and she talked about what we did for her and everything. And she said that, I really have the ability to relate. And she talks about how she felt on the day of the wedding, and she was comfortable, and the family liked us and everything. And that whole relate word, she actually put the relate in quotes in her email.
Ah,
That just kind of stood out, and
okay.
that was one of the things that triggered the name change inside of the Relate Studios.
What a cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. You're really good with your branding too. I noticed. I was looking at some of the photos on your website, and I saw some photos of you working, and the shirt you had on actually had your company logo on it.
Yeah. That actually is that's Ayende's doing. He's like into
That's your
the
partner,
whole.
your co-founder, right?
Ayende's the co-founder of Relay Studios, and he's into that whole fashion thing, and he's into the whole branding thing because he worked in advertising before.
Oh, okay.
He has like a master's in marketing, and he's that's like his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came on, I was just a guy in a shirt, and he was like saying that this does not work, this cannot work. So we decided to get a uniform. We got the red ties, and we kind of rotate the ties through. We have red ties, black ties, and stuff like that, and we have the shirt with the logo on it,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone dresses the same way on the wedding day. So it's like a representation of the company that's out there doing the work, and yeah, that's like a thing that we do every single wedding the same way.
Very cool. Very cool. And then do you find, it's kind of hard to quantify that, I'm sure, but do you know of any examples of how that's kind of helped you book another wedding, maybe?
Well, people always kind of refer to us as the tall guys with the ties, red ties, and
Okay.
the shirts. They always ask, "What does that R mean? What does that R mean? What does that R mean?" People always ask that question. What does the
So
R
it's a
mean?
talking point. That's cool.
It's like, yeah, people always talk about that. What's up with that R? What's with the R? And
Yeah.
and then we kind of turn our shoulders because we have the name on the shoulders on our arms of our shirts.
Yeah.
So we kind of say, check us out. It's Relate Studios, and people like, oh yeah. I said that's cool, and
Yeah.
people generally is like, that's really cool.
And it sticks, right? It sticks in their head, and
It sticks.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's. I don't really see. You don't see that a lot here, actually, in the U.S.
Well,
from what I can see. But that's really cool.
I guess, yeah, I think it's nice. I think they had a really, really good idea, and we followed through on it, and it's been working for us.
Nice. So let's talk about places that you've worked, because I see that you've shot weddings in various locations in the U.S., the Caribbean, and even Africa.
Yeah. We have we've done a few weddings in a few places. We've been to Massachusetts. We've been to Baltimore. We've been to Maryland, Virginia. We've been to upstate New York and Lake Placid to shoot a wedding. It's a beautiful setting at a lake. We've been to St. Martin. We've been to Barbados. We've been to Antigua. We've been to Anguilla. We've even been to Africa. We've been to Kenya, Nairobi, which was a really, really great referral wedding that we got. And yeah, that was an amazing experience. And just being there, just stepping off the plane and knowing that you're in a totally different continent
Yeah,
was an amazing experience.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Is that
So
like that? Was that maybe your favorite wedding, or
I would say
in terms of?
it's in the top five.
Okay.
Strangely, some of the weddings, the really tiny weddings that I've done, like here, have been like in my top five. But that's like in my top five. That's like, a wedding that I don't think we will. Hopefully, we'll do something like that again, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure when. Because that was like totally through referral. That was a friend who had been at two weddings that we've done in the States, and she was like, she knew the work, and she knew us, and she's like, she kind of suggested it while I was at one wedding that she was at. And then, I remember the suggestion, and I had her on Facebook, and I wrote her and I said, well, so what about that wedding in Kenya? What's going on with that? Are you gonna go to Kenya?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we really want to. Let me talk to my fiance and I'll get back to you. And she did speak with him, and she got back to us, and she was like, yeah, we really want you to come. You're the perfect guy to do this.
So cool.
And yeah, next thing I know, tickets purchased, and everything is set. And I went to Kenya, went through South Africa, got laid over. It was incredible. And while we were there, we did some really cool stuff and went on safari and met new friends. And
So
It
cool.
was a really, really, really amazing experience. It
What
was
did
a
that
very
feel like? What did that feel like when you got that confirmation email that basically said you're booked, you're going to Kenya?
it's a great feeling. I mean, because you're thinking, I'm thinking, but I really never thought that we would get to do stuff like this when we
Yeah.
first started. You don't think of those things. You don't think of travel and going to places and seeing new things. You just think of paying the bills. That's basically what you think of at the beginning. But when you develop something and you build relationship and you put yourself in a space where you really treat people well, it opens a lot of doors for you. And that's what happened with us. And I think she saw the consistency not only in the work, but she saw the consistency in the way we interacted with people and the way we treated people. And that was like the major selling point for that particular wedding.
So I want to change gears here a little bit, and I want to talk about a time where you felt you were struggling. It was, and I want to talk about how you overcame that. I know in the pre-interview you mentioned that one of the hardest parts of your career was deciding to take the jump to full time.
That was like, I mean,
What was that
uh,
like?
yeah, that was like a major decision. You know, I mean, I had support and I was encouraged by my boss at the time and the people surrounding him for the company I was working for. But really and truly thinking about not getting that paycheck the next month, that's like a nerve-wracking thing if you could really think about it. That's like something that could prevent you. It could literally paralyze you.
Hmm.
And I think when I first decided to well, not when I first decided, but when I actually left the company I was working for, and I think there's a lot of doubt in my mind still as to whether or not I made the right decision. But not from the level of whether I could do the work or not, but from the level of just strictly, I have this car payment to make. We have to eat at the end of the month. Just strictly from that level.
Yeah.
Um, and I think what happened is that as I began to put more energy into actually building the business, those kind of thoughts dissipated.
Hmm.
I realized that if I could put energy into this thing in the right way, then I would never really have a problem with what I was doing because I felt I was doing the right thing, but the work was good. I was treating people the right way, and I was consistent. So I knew that the business would go forward. But at the time, that was a real hard thing to break out of. But
Hmm.
eventually, over a period of time, over the next year, we worked. I worked, and then I was out of the doldrums with that one, and it proceeded to something great.
And so, how long did it take before, like, from the time that you went and you quit your job
Right.
and you started full time photography? Uh, how long did it take before you kind of felt like, okay, I'm doing this, I got this?
I would say kind of it took about a year or so. I mean,
Okay.
it took about a year. I mean, to be like totally clear and out of those thought patterns, it took about a year. I
Okay.
mean, it was like a roller coaster for a little bit. Sometimes it'll be great, sometimes it won't be so great, sometimes it'll be great, and sometimes it wouldn't be so great. And there came a point where that kind of flattened out.
Yeah.
And it kind of flattened out, and it was just like it was good.
Yeah.
It's good. Whether or not I get this job or whether or not this bride responds to my email, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
going to be something else.
It'll be okay.
It'll be fine. And I think the more I focused on building something as opposed to what was going wrong, then I was able to actually advance. And so the whole moral of that story is really kind of focus on the correct things and don't focus on the negative stuff that might come to your mind when you see other people with incredible work and you're wondering, oh my goodness, can I live up to the standard? So focus on the right thing and you'll be fine.
That's a great quote. I like that. Um, okay, so there's one last thing I want to touch on before I let you go. Uh, you mentioned in the pre-interview um, a new thing that you're starting called Elevate Caribbean.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's talk about that. What is that?
Elevate Caribbean is an initiative of Relate Studios. That's of course Relate Studios is us, Aina and I, and the entire company. Basically, Elevate Caribbean is a initiative that will help develop the people of the Caribbean through training in different forms of media. And actually, this Elevate workshop that we're going to have in October is like the first one in the installation of it. So, you know, we've always had a heart for development, especially for this region, because that's where we're from.
Hmm.
And we've always thought about how could we make things better? How can we add to the life of people and really kind of make us lift the standard in the Caribbean, not only in wedding photography, but in all forms of life. And because we know photography, because we know wedding photography in particular, and we kind of connected to people in different areas of the media, like in advertising and in film and so on, we felt that it'll be easy to mobilize people in those areas. And so Elevate Caribbean is actually the initiative that brings all those people together to train in different disciplines and to really kind of lift the standard of what is the Caribbean has to offer. So we want to get the best of the best. We want to get the people who can share information, not only information, but share the ways of how they do things and really be open with their expertise so that other people could develop properly. Not just from a perspective of trying to make more money or trying to get more, but from the perspective of really bringing a higher or presenting a higher quality to the world coming out of the Caribbean region. So I think that's cool. The thing that we're planning to do.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. I mean, just like when I started photography, we're doing it. And now I know that, you know, if we focus on the right thing, we'll be fine. So
you'll get there.
Take that and work with it.
Well, that sounds awesome. Juma, thanks so much for being on the show. I don't want to take up any more of your time. If anybody wants to get in touch with you and they want to just say, you know, thanks for being on the show, how can they do that? How can they reach you?
Again, you can reach me. You can go to our website that relatestudios.com.
Okay.
You can always email me at juma@relatestudios.com or ayinde@relatestudios.com if you want to touch base and just talk. Or you can check me up on Facebook. I'm like one of the few Jumas out there. So if you just type Juma Bannister in Google, you'll definitely find us, and we'll be happy to talk with you.
Great, and you're super accessible too. I know from experience. So.
Yeah.
And for all the listeners, I'll actually put a link to Juma's website, Relate Studios, and everything down below the video, so you can all check it out. Definitely encourage you to do that. But Juma, let me be the first to thank you. It's been awesome. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, it's been good.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Wait, say that again?
Say hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm going to try to make it out there.